I started off teaching in London. In Bethnal Green, I had 43 children, and 5, 6, and 7-year-olds, no aid, starting about 8:30 in the morning, going to 3:45 in the afternoon. And I had a music teacher who came in once a week for 30 minutes. That was it. And so if we wanted to prepare for something, I would have the infants, all of the 5-year-olds, and my 5, 6, and 7-year-olds who were transitioning up. And we would go into the hall and we would do drama, and I would read stories and we'd act them out. But I would have 80 children so that the other teacher had a little bit of time to get something ready. So that was my first experience of teaching. And I had £35 a year for supplies. Now, paper and paints, all of that stuff was there. The school had been condemned for 30 years. I had to lock my classroom when I left. Had to stay in the school until every child was picked up by a parent or by someone who I knew. And if they didn't come, I would walk home with them. And often I'd be there at 6 o'clock, walking in Bethnal Green knocking on a door with a child, because no one had come to pick the child up. And someone would just come out and say, "Oh, we forgot," or something would have happened. So that was my first teaching experience. And we didn't have a lot of supplies. But coming from a village where everyone helped everyone, I pulled parents in, or grandmothers, or aunts and uncles, whoever. And many of the children, their fathers were in prison, and they would come if they were, I guess at the end of the sentence, they were allowed to come home and go back. But they would come into to the classroom. I would always invite them in. And I worked with mums and dads and asked them to read to their children, gave them books to take home. And that's how I started teaching. And I would say, I can't manage this on my own. We all have to work together here. And so all of the money that we had, I bought children's books. We set up a library. We made our own books. And that's been my experience of teaching. That's the way I've always taught, is we all muck in. I've never given a test. Children don't need tests, and neither do graduate students. And we do whatever we could to problem solve together how we were going to make sure that every child could read. And it was at the time of the British Infant School, so children were much more in charge of their own learning. And my children knew that they had to read, write, do some math, lots of art, lots of drama every day. But they didn't all do it together. And I was there as a resource and would pull them together for very focused lessons, and then they would go off and do their stuff. And it worked, and the kids were given masses of responsibility. And often to find my glasses, because I would put my glasses on a desk somewhere and I'd forget them, and some little kid would come up and say, "I've got your glasses, miss." And